Hey guys, CDTVthaG here, and the G of course stands for greatest Britain boy in the game. I hope someone found that intro funny, because now I have to stop the recording and unplug my microphone, and now we're gonna go to the camera audio for a second, and that's probably gonna sound terrible. So hey guys, did you miss me? Did you miss me? Back after a month, and we're gonna be reacting to some NAV. I know you guys are ecstatic about this one. So yes, it is me, CDTVthaG, here after a month away to react to another NAV project. CDTV, are you not aware that Savage Mode 2 exists? Another rapper-producer collab album that's probably better than this one? Hey CDTV, what about Pegasus, that 26 track long album that you've already heard? Why don't you react to that? Hey CDTV, Joyner Lucas dropped the project. Why don't you react to that? All valid questions, but I just want to react to this album right now. You know, it's the newest one out of all of those, and I want to react to it right now. So today I'm going to be reacting to the new project by NAV. I'm not sure if this is officially labeled as a NAV and Wheezy project, but I believe he produced every single track on here. So I'm going to be reacting to this new NAV and Wheezy album, Emergency Tsunami. Honestly, I'm not even gonna lie, I'm kind of excited to hear this project. Wheezy, of course, produced Turks by NAV, which is one of NAV's most well-received songs. Now, I still think that the song is just okay, like, it's fine. I don't think it's bad, but it's just a fine song. Gunna, surprisingly, was the best on it. But you know, the production was good on there, and generally people liked how NAV sounded over that Wheezy production, so I'm thinking that maybe NAV felt really sort of inspired in a sense by that to make this project. Maybe he feels like he works best with him. And if you guys know my channel, you'll know that NAV is sort of a guilty pleasure artist for me. He hasn't been as much of that recently. If you watch my Good Intentions reaction, I really, for the most part, wasn't a fan of that project at all. I'm just hoping that this slaps and that it's music that I can just sit back and enjoy, because obviously it's not going to be a crazy amount to dig into or analyze. I just want to enjoy the music on here. Let's get started with track number 1 on Emergency Tsunami by NAV and Wheezy. Breaking news intro. And if this is just, you know, an intro skit, I'll let it run into the first track on the album, which is Friends and Family.
It was a beautiful spring day. It was sunny outside. I had just come home from a little errand at the grocery store, kind of shaken by this, by the tremor of the ground.
Is that going to be the Friends and Family beat in the background? Yep, and now we're into Friends and Family, track number 2.
The riches from rags, I just believe in myself and somehow I made it out the block. I hit the road, I spend a 20 clip minimum every time I want to shop. Man with the plan, I told him just follow my lead and I took my whole team. Don't check the tag, and I don't.
NAV is kind of floating on this.
Your actions looking deceiving. Beverly Hills, I told her to steal my sweetest, told her the entry is keyless. I'm getting paid.
Okay, those little flow switches are needed on this track, because I was starting to think NAV was sounding a bit bored, but
when I get geek, fuck around, tell her I love her, but I really use it for sex.
Well, that's lovely, NAV.
You try to leave, you know I'm not taking it easy. Fuck on the friend, she upset.
NAV is always being a gentleman with the ladies, as we would expect. This is the most respectful brown boy in the game, as well as the greatest brown boy in the game. We have to give it up for NAV.
In Beverly Hills, I told her to steal my sweetest, told her the entry is keyless. I'm getting
that little flow there is really nice.
Jackson when she let me beat it.
I think that was a nice start to this. I feel like the only thing that kind of held that track back was NAV's voice, because there was a lot of parts where he just went into this really kind of deep, monotone voice, and it did get a bit boring as the song dragged on. Obviously, you had those little kind of flow and delivery switches, especially during the chorus. Those little switches were nice, but during the verses, it did feel a little bit boring. To riches from rags, I just believe in myself and somehow I made it at the block. The flows from NAV were nice on here, I'll give him to that. He flowed nicely on the production, and I did like the production as well. Wheezy's beat was nice on here. It could have started off way worse. I feel like Wheezy is a good producer. He does have like kind of variety in his production, but there's always things that are consistent that make you recognize it's a Wheezy beat. Like the way he spaces out his 808s, that's something I've mentioned before in my reactions. That's something that makes you kind of notice it's a Wheezy beat. You can just tell by the way he places like his 808 hits. But he does have a little bit of variety in his production, and he knows how to make a hard beat, so I do like the production on here. I do like NAV's flows. His lyrics are typical NAV. There's nothing too much to complain about with the lyrics, at least. It's just his voice. His voice was the only thing that made this track not great to me. It was just pretty good. It was fairly enjoyable. Oh, and this wasn't just produced purely by Wheezy. I was giving him all the credit there, but this was produced by Jasper Harris. and Wheezy. So yeah, they both came together on this one and they made a nice beat. Let's move on to track number 3. This one is called Young Wheezy, and this features Gunna, who works with Wheezy all the time, so I'm expecting them to at least be a good fit for the production, even if I'm not the biggest Gunna fan myself.
They fresh out of coffin, don't know why they talking. Got power like Austin, they cat with a gun. When cost of 30, I ain't even 30. I feel hold 30, blue tips in the clip. Why back swerving, real weight, that's a certain. Can't believe catch a studio covered in beef. Fuck so much bitches, I should be in porn. Cause I'm in the leg just to see me perform.
Fuck so much bitches, I should be in porn. The way he delivered that was so funny because it sounded like he was nervous to say it. Fuck so much bitches, I should be in porn.
I got pieces of mine. Pull up the function, my name on the banner. I still walking through the back door of my hammer. Only little boys that they don't want no smoke. I she tie up a hill with a Gucci bandana. Coming to me.
There we go, it's a bit less monotone now, I like this. Wait, what? Catching your bitch is like catching the ops. I just pull out my dick and I shoot it right at her. A poet. Okay, that track to me, it started off a bit slow. I wasn't the biggest fan of what Gunna did on here. I think especially with the placement of the track after Friends and Family. It's like we went from NAV's really monotone flow on Friends and Family into this track where we had Gunna being really monotone as well. And it was just like, oh, is this all this project is going to be? But then we got into NAV's verse and I actually really enjoyed that. I like NAV's verse on this better than on Friends and Family. He slid across this beat really smoothly. He had a line about him being in porn. I don't know, NAV had some funny bars on this one and his delivery was actually quite enjoyable. I like how NAV sounded on this track. Like, Gunna was fine on here, but it was exactly what you would expect. Gunna was Gunna. NAV made this track for me. And of course, production from Wheezy was pretty nice as well. Next up, we have track number 4. Nasty. NAV competing with Ariana Grande for the best song titled Nasty on this one. Ooh, okay, I'm liking the beat on this one.
I draw my threes, sell on my shirt, handle my problems when they occur. Put her in product cause I'm proud of her. She asked me, do you want half of this perk? She must not know me, I told her for sure.
I grab her ass and she call me a perv. He's going with that flow on here. I really like this song so far, but it just reminds me on Glow Up when he said, I grabbed that ass and she called me a perv. Opened her legs so I had to insert. Nav, you should have never even tried to write that down. You know what? It's a familiar flow from Nav, but the production on this is just crazy. This makes me feel like I'm like floating like in some like underwater Atlantis type city. Bro, we're 4 tracks in and I'm really enjoying this NAV project a lot. And I'm not saying it's anything special or crazy or it's one of the best albums I've ever heard, but I'm enjoying the music on here. I think this is fun to listen to.
Think I'm obsessed, I'm on that ass. I text her back way too fast.
Oh my god. Why am I vibing to this so much? This is the best one on the album so far.
When I leave, always come back home. Right back to a brand new blues. Catch me, yeah.
Okay. Oh. That straight up just cuts right into the next song. Wow, okay. Nasty has been my favorite song on this project so far. I loved everything about that song. The production, the way Nav worked with it. Nav sounded perfect over a beat like this. Maybe this is just what he needed. Maybe he just needed to find the right producer to work with, because what he's been doing with Wheezy on this project so far and just in general, it's been a lot better than a lot of the stuff that I've heard from him. Nasty, when I shoot you gonna catch me, yeah. This is what I like. I feel like on Friends and Family, that monotone kind of voice he was going with was to try and sound hard. Like Nav was trying to sound intimidating, and that delivery just doesn't really work for Nav for me. But tracks like this where he's just having a bit more fun with it, it's enjoyable. That Nasty has been my favorite track on this project so far. And there hasn't been a bad song yet. So let's move on to track number 5, Repercussions.
They typing on computers, only let I know it's keys. Pull up to the show, I send a hit and hit the stage. Wheezy plays some beats, I think that he kicked in, I'm ready. Grinding on my teeth, I got no food inside my belly. You don't want these repercussions. I
Oh, I was so ready to listen to the next song that I didn't even notice Young Thug was on it. So he's got the second verse on here apparently. This one's okay. Not crazy about this one. It was another one of those ones where I feel kind of similarly to how I felt about Friends and Family, where it was just a bit too monotone and NAV sounded kind of bored. Production was pretty nice again, but it wasn't enough to carry it to being a good song for me. Everything about this song was just fine, although I feel like Young Thug was pretty good on this track. He had a nice little verse, his flows were nice on here. Repercussions was maybe my least favorite so far, maybe. Because Young Thug still did have a nice verse on here, but it wasn't anything super special. He just had a really nice flow on it. So, let's move on to the next one. Track number 6, Vetement Socks. Okay, this one's sounding more upbeat already. Ooh. Those sound like some Lil Uzi melodies right there.
I hit the gas and I'm gone just like Wheezy. I'm out of here, all of my cars got a turbo. Do you even know how many
Referencing both the producers on here, Wheezy and Turbo.
got a mention? My shooters got dreads with extensions.
Ooh, what's happening with the beat here?
Keep a guap, then we'll put her on payroll.
That little vocal sample?
Pink and green flooded with rocks. For a drop, everything fresh out the box. Brick on Vetement Socks. Pop me your perk and I'll get in my mode. Keep it safe, I ain't really got a mention. My shooters got dreads
The
with
beat during this pre-chorus?
extensions. Money is okay though. Keep a guap, then we'll put her on payroll.
Vetement Socks, another one that I really enjoyed on here. The more upbeat production, that works better with NAV's voice for me. If the production is more low-key, it has to be the right type of low-key production to work with NAV. But when it's more like this, it's more upbeat, and NAV isn't trying to go way out of his vocal range like he did with Coast to Coast, for example. It works really well. I think he's doing pretty well on this project so far. His flows are really nice, even though they are sort of predictable. I guess NAV is doing pretty much just these kind of triplet flows, just bouncing back and forth on the beat. But honestly, I'm not too mad at that. I'll take predictability if it sounds good from NAV. Loved all the elements of the production here. It sounded like a little kind of like upbeat xylophone melody. There was some synths. There was that little tiny like vocal sample during the pre-chorus. It just all sounded really great. Let's move on to the next one. Halfway through this project now, we've got track number 7. Don't Need Friends, and this one is featuring Lil Baby, so I'm interested to hear what Lil Baby is like on here, because he's an artist that I sort of have mixed feelings on. I don't really like Lil Baby's solo music, I think it's pretty boring, but he does have some really good features sometimes, so we'll see how he sounds on here. Ooh. Bro, the production on this.
I don't need friends. Call it a body, I hear when I please. Whatever it take, man, just pay to leave. My bitch Latino, my chopper is Russian. They don't wanna see someone like me doing better than them. Still can't believe it, I really got rich and I'm feeling relieved. I gave a round of applause to myself. I put the baddest new bitch.
Nice start to the verse. Okay, baby's going in on this one.
When I was broke, I was feeling uneasy. Now I get paid and I'm feeling relieved.
This is one of the ones that worked with more kind of darker production. There was really sort of atmospheric on that track. It sounded good, and I think Lil Baby actually had a really good verse on this one. Don't Need Friends was a nice enough track. Nice enough. I feel like this one felt a little bit long, even though it was probably just under 3 minutes, but it did feel a little bit long to me. But not bad at all. There's still not really any songs that I would say are bad on here. Repercussions is probably my least favorite, which is surprising because it has that Young Thug feature, but there hasn't been a bad song in this project yet. Let's move on to the next one. Track number 8, Make It Right Back. Okay, let's see how this one goes. It sounds like it could be one of the more boring ones, but we'll see.
I know that it's all there, but I still love the feeling every time I count it. Shorty got a little makeup on, fuck her, tell her rub a mask off. Wake up, I gotta go get it. They told me I could not beat it. I'm a man of my time, I beat it. All my cars go real fast, got horses in them like where the stable at. Count people like loose leaf and it's stick together like where the staple at. Never let her post a picture tagging me just to find.
Okay, this second verse is picking up a little bit.
Properly, my 100K no biggie. Make it right back, no kizzy.
Make It Right Back was another one of those ones where I'm just like, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's, again, not a bad song, but just a little bit dull. During the second verse, I really liked Nav's flow again. It sounded nice the way his words were hitting the beat there, but again, it's his voice and the more low-key instrumentals, even though the beat was very nice on this one. Right now, I'm liking the songs that are a bit more, you know, the ones that are more kind of like bangers, the ones that go hard, the ones that are more upbeat. Make It Right Back was cool, but nothing too crazy. Okay, let's move into track number 9. This one I'm a little scared of because it has a Lil Keed feature. Lil Keed was my least favorite XXL freshman of 2020, had the worst freestyle, probably the worst cypher performance, and just the worst music out of everyone in that class. So I'm scared to hear what he does on here. There's really only one thing I can say about it to sum it up. On Wikipedia, it says that Young Thug has 6 children, and I'm inclined to believe that Lil Keed is one of them. The fuck is this? The melodies that Nav is creating with his voice here just doesn't work with the production. It doesn't mesh well at all. He's trying to create a key in the song that isn't there. This is the first bad track on the album. This shit sounds awful. Let's see if Lil Keed saves the track, because I'm not liking it so far. I don't want to see anyone in the comments saying that the only reason that I disliked that track was because I thought I wouldn't like it because of Lil Keed going into it. That was just ass. Trains is by far the worst song on this project so far. Nav during the chorus just sounded completely off. All of his flows so far on this project have sounded pretty tight and pretty well matched with the production. And even his delivery, even if I found some of the songs boring, his delivery was at least matched with the production. Here, both of those things were completely off. And Lil Keed, I mean, I think I've already expressed my feelings on Lil Keed so far. But more importantly, honestly, more importantly, it's the only 2-pack of ass on the project, and we're 9 songs in. I'm less inclined to focus on the parts that I don't like if the music I'm hearing is actually enjoyable. And that's the case with Emergency Tsunami so far. So Trains, worst track on the album, but it's the worst track on the album by far. And there's no other ones that are that bad before it. Let's move on to the next one. We've only got a few songs on the project left. Track number 10, Do Your Deed, featuring SahBabii. I still don't know how to say his name, but I'm guessing it's SahBabii. SahBabii? Someone let me know. What's this elegant ass sounding piano? She get to the nut like a sunflower seed. Bruh, SahBabii is going wild on here. She get to the nut like a sunflower seed. That pussy wet thought the lil hoe dumb peed. Dumb head, I don't think she can read. Maybe I need to check out more of SahBabie's music. Like, that is just an artful way of wording things. What's up with the mixing on his voice though? It sounds like... That caught me off guard because I was talking during the line, but if you didn't see it, there's the line here. If you didn't hear it, sorry. There's the line right there. This man is on a whole different level of horny on this verse, bro. What is he saying? Nav, stop. Just stop. Baker man, I fill her pie with my cream. This song is too much. Oh, Nav's doing the hook now. Oh, this is a throwback to some of Nav's older music where they have like the slowed down outro. He did this a lot on Perfect Timing, I'm pretty sure. Why on this song out of all the songs you could do it on? 10 out of 10. Best song I've heard all year. Honestly, both NAV and SahBabii, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but both NAV and SahBabii were so funny on here, but they were funny in different ways. NAV sounds like he's being more serious about it, so that makes it funny in its own way. And SahBabii just sounds like he's completely joking and just having fun, and that's hilarious too. Honestly, I got a lot of enjoyment out of that track, even if it's not in the way I was typically thinking I would. It just made me laugh so much that I can't hate on it. This track is a 10 out of 10. The album is a 10 out of 10 after that song. Obviously, just in case my sarcasm is coming across as too strong, I don't love the track that much. But it was really entertaining and really funny to listen to. I do enjoy it in that sense. That was needed after Trains, because if we got a boring song after Trains, that would have taken a lot out of me. This is exactly what was needed after a song that bad. So, let's move on to the next song. Track number 11, Droppin Tears.
Dropping bodies, we ride out, they dropping tears. Got dirty money like cleats on the soccer player. Picture we drop for the chopper like chop chop. Sliding over, we gon' shoot out.
It's another one of those beats where there's just not much to it.
Just like Wheezy, I'm out of here. All of my darkest fears. My price make them scratch on their head, but they book me.
Yeah, that one was a skip. You can't follow up something like Do Your Deed with one of the more boring songs on the album like this. You already know, Nav sounded bored on it, the production was more low-key, and even a little bit of the chorus, it sounded like he was trying to cram too many syllables into some of the lines, so the flow sounded a little off there. Yeah, this song was kind of dead, but overall the project is good so far. Let's move on to the next one, the second last song on this project, track number 12, Modest. Ooh, those strings.
Never relax, diamonds always attack. Put me a jet and I fly with a pack. Got pictures
okay.
On the new black twist watch. Riding my cock like she dancing with TikTok. Smoking on gas, I got Zaza and Ziploc.
That line is just weird, considering that most of the users on TikTok, most of the people dancing on TikTok, they're mostly not over 18. Let's just say that. I was vibing with the song until you said that, but we're just gonna ignore that line. And we're gonna go through it. See, this one is a little more low-key still, but those strings just take it up a bit and make it more enjoyable. That definitely was a better one than the previous song, Droppin Tears. Modest, like I said, just the production on this one and the strings or the string sample that they had really just brought it up to another level. That's one of the things that I think really gets to me with the tracks that I said were more boring on here, was that the instrumentals were very stripped down and they didn't have a lot of elements to them, or they didn't have any sort of upbeat elements or something that you just notice playing in the background of the beat and you're like, okay, that's really nice. You got that with the strings on here, and I think that's what made this song a little bit better than some of those other ones. The production on there definitely made it stand out a little bit. So let's move on to the 13th and final song that's on Emergency Tsunami, because the last one is just the breaking news outro. This is Turn and Twist, and I'll just let that run into breaking news outro.
Paid in full, get money like Mitch. Back to the Glock, only time I switch. Thighs, iced out buzz, color up my eyes.
Ending it with the boring one.
Closing my teeth, I don't wear the same clothes. I went from rags to rich. I used to spray on a sample cologne.
Oh, this instrumental outro? This is the best part of the song right here. And then the breaking news outro. We'll just let that play.
This is gonna be a tremor to remember.
Wheezy out of here.
Okay, and there we go. That's the end of Emergency Tsunami by NAV. So let's talk about Turn and Twist real quick before we get into my overall thoughts on the project. Turn and Twist was another one you can cut off the album. It was pretty boring. The best part about it, like I said, was that instrumental outro. Kind of underwhelming outro to the album, but again, I'm not too mad at the second half of this album not being as good to me as the first half, because I still mostly enjoyed this project. So let's go into my overall thoughts on Emergency Tsunami by NAV and Wheezy. After this first listen, I don't know if I would say that this is definitely my personal favorite NAV project so far, but it definitely has the potential to be that. I enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would, and this is better than Good Intentions. I can say that much. This is a better album than Good Intentions because, yeah, it feels a lot less planned out in a way, and like I said, there's a definite formula to most of the tracks on here with the production, the way that the drums are programmed, the way that NAV flows over them. You definitely just keep noticing patterns as the project goes on, but honestly, it's not that much of a bad thing when the songs mostly sound good. I'm kind of surprised at how much I like this, because if you watch this compared to my Good Intentions reaction, they'll be almost complete opposites. And I think for someone like me that is a closeted NAV stan, that has NAV as a guilty pleasure artist of theirs, I'm gonna listen to the songs on this quite a bit. The main thing is just that I enjoyed listening to it, even if it's not the most well crafted, the most well thought out music. It's just fun. It's just fun to listen to, and I enjoyed this project. I don't think I'd want to hear another collab project between NAV and Wheezy, just because, like I said, that formula is noticeable on here. It's not a huge issue, but it is noticeable. And I think if they dropped another project soon, an Emergency Tsunami 2, it would just be kind of pointless. For what it was, I think it was a pretty good project, and definitely the best one NAV has dropped this year. And like I said, with more listens, this could potentially be the best one he has dropped. Unless I completely forgot about Perfect Timing. Okay, Perfect Timing will probably stay the best NAV album, but Emergency Tsunami is a close runner-up. I completely forgot Perfect Timing existed for a second there. So, before we end this reaction, let's go through my favorite and least favorite songs on the project. Favorites on here were Nasty, Vetement Socks. Honestly, Don't Need Friends. That was a good dark banger on this project looking back at it, and I think that's going to grow on me more and more the more that I listen to it. Do You Deed, honestly, I'm going to put that in my favorites because it was so funny. I had fun listening to that track. It's one of those ones that's almost so bad that it's good in a sort of sense. As for my least favorite tracks on this project, I'd probably say Trains, Droppin Tears, and Turn and Twist. So that's 3 songs towards the end of the project. If you cut those out, then you have a pretty solid album, honestly. I have more favorites than least favorites on this NAV project, and that is something that I'm happy about. I'm happy that I enjoyed this project, honestly. I had a good time, and I hope you guys had a good time watching this reaction too. So that is going to be it for my reaction to Emergency Tsunami by NAV, executively produced by Wheezy. What did you guys think of this project? I'm curious to see if you guys enjoyed this as much as I did. That's pretty much all I've got to say for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and of course subscribe if you want to see more content similar to this. This is CDTVthaG, signing out.